Alright, we're back. So, if you just clicked on this video and you did not start at the beginning, then fair warning, this is probably not a good place to start. So, let's see what's inside that storehouse. See who's dead, because it's gotta be someone who's dead. Alright, lay it on us. Let's see. Inside the storehouse, with its shutter wide open, a faint fluorescent light shone down, and right there was... Jessica's piercing shriek rang out. But that was just because Jessica's scream was the loudest. The same thing spilled out of Battler and George's mouths as well. Ava spread her arms just like Natsuhi, roaring at the kids with a bone-chilling expression on her face.
Georgie, みんなを連れて屋敷に帰っていなさい。早く、今すぐに。
When Natsuhi spread her arms, I thought she was trying to prevent us from advancing any further. But that wasn't why Ava was spreading her arms right now. She was trying to stop us kids from seeing that terrible scene. It was her mother's heart, trying to protect the eyes and hearts of us children by blocking our view of that terrible scene by at least the width of one of her arms. I'd seen this kind of cheap scene all too often. In manga, TV, anime, and movies, I'd seen it over and over again. This was just seeing something appear in real life that I'd seen plenty of times before in some of those more sensational movies, right? That alone shouldn't... But that suit, it's that old bastard's, isn't it? I get it. And that's Uncle Kraus. And Kirie-san and Aunt Rosa. Yeah. Damn, so we've got Kraus, we've got Rudolph, and Aunt Rosa. And Kirie? Really? Damn. All at once. That sucks. Alright, well. Aunt Natsuhi caught Jessica in her arms, and Aunt Eva caught George Aniki, so I was the only one who could approach the entrance to the storehouse. If only there had been someone there to catch me too. I wouldn't have needed to have this horrible, evil scene burned into my eyes. No, that's not it. It isn't that there's no one here to catch me. The people who should catch me, they're right there, aren't they? But as Jessica said, it did look like a storehouse for gardening tools. A lawnmower with extra blades, a grass sickle and a hammer, some carpentry tools such as the saw, piled up potted plants and bags of fertilizer, and treated just the same, the corpses of several people had been laid to rest there. No, had been tossed in there. I could tell them by their clothes. That old bastard and Kirie-san, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Rosa. Beyond that, Goda-san and... Are there still more of them? How many people died? You're fucking kidding me. I can't even count them on one hand. Damn it. I didn't know whether it had been one of those gardening tools, which, if used for something other than their intended purpose, could definitely be wielded with a naked brutality, or whether some horrible tool had been brought in here specifically for this. Anyway, each one of the bodies jammed in here had been given an atrocious makeup. It wasn't makeup, it was more like their faces had been plowed. Their faces were smashed, forced into expressions that normal people couldn't make even after death. I couldn't tell where the eyes or the noses were, but I could find their mouths because they were gaping wide, their gums exposed. But their front teeth were missing, and even the cheeks that should have covered all this were all torn up and laid bare. That trendy makeup you always spent so much time on, even though you're a man, isn't doing a thing now.
親父！てめえは絶対地獄行きだとは思ってたぜ。でもよ、ここまでじゃねえだろ。ここまでひでえ目に遭わされるほどの悪党じゃなかっただろうがよ。だからこんな男と付き合うのはやめろって言ったんだ。あんたまでそこまで目に遭わされる理由は何もねえじゃねえかよ。顔がねえ。顔がねえよ。クソクソクソクソ。
バトラーさん、これ以上見てはいかん。こんな姿をお父さんもお母さんもあんたに見せたいわけがない。お父さんとお母さんのためにもこれ以上見てはいかん。
死者ってのは安らかに眠る顔ってやつを拝ませてくれるんじゃねえのかよ。顔がねえんだよ。どういう顔して死んじまったのか、それすらもわかんねえんだよ。親父たちのことをクソ親父のニヤニヤとした顔を思い出さなくていいんだからよ。最高だぜ最高だぜ。でもよ、キリエさんの顔くらいもいいだろ。キリエさんの悪党じゃねえ。たまにはムカつくと思ったけど、ちょいとかっこいい俺の姉気分だったお人じゃねえかよ。こんなのってねえよ。クロスおじさんなんかまだマシじゃねえか。顔面じゃなくて側面だぜ。少なくとも顔半分は残ってるじゃねえかよ。まだマシだぜまだマシだぜ。
Jessica filled her ears with the sound of her own screaming, trying to shut out my reckless words.
よすんだバトラ君、もうよすんだ、もうよすんだ。兄貴兄貴。
Disregarding age and appearance, I felt on my knees, clinging to Aniki's waist and sobbing. It was as if I was crying on behalf of everyone there. Representing the feelings of everyone there, I screamed over and over.
O 父さん、倒れているのはクラウスおじさん、ルドルフおじさん、キリエおばさんにローザおばさん、5人。
いや、6人や。ここに
もう一人おる。
The body Hideyoshi was looking down on now happened to be hidden among the shadows in that mountain range of objects, in a blind spot to George, who stood by the entrance. So George couldn't tell whose body it was. So George cursed himself. He cursed the fact that his worst guesses always turned out to be right.
じゃあ、お父さんの足元に倒れているのはシャノンなんだね。ああ、シャノンちゃんや。
George fell completely silent. He shook slightly, his lower lip trembling. Normally he would have wanted to run his beloved's body, screaming and crying, run to his beloved's body. However, before rashly rushing forward, he worked to keep his composure and asked his father.
シャノンもクラウスおじさんたちと同じなのかな。
Hideyoshi deeply understood the meaning of those words, so he couldn't give George an immediate answer. Or rather, he felt that silence was the only sincere and loving response he could give George right now. When George asked if Shannon was the same, he meant to ask whether her corpse was in the same condition as the others or not. Since Hideyoshi hadn't denied it, it meant her corpse was in the same brutal state.
シャノンをいや、あかん。どうして？だって、もう二度とシャノンの顔を見られないんだよ。その、最後の顔。どうして見たらいけないんだよ。お前が最後にシャノンちゃんに会ったのは昨日か。うん。そうか。そのシャノンちゃんは別れ際にお前にどんな顔を見せたんや。素敵な笑顔だったよ。
After he handed her the ring, she hesitated, even though she must have already made up her mind. Then she looked bashful, ran away because she was embarrassed to let him see her face looking like that. That's the expression that was revived in George's mind.
そうか。ならシャノンちゃんもその笑顔をお前に残したいと願うはずや。
Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body lying at his feet. Just like the other bodies, it was in such a horrible state that it'd make anyone want to cover their eyes. Her head had been smashed in from the side, and no more than half of her expression remained. If the remaining blood-soaked half of her expression had been wiped clean, would that graceful smile of hers have peeked out? But only half of it. Without thinking, Hideyoshi slapped his hands over his eyes. How brutal. If her face was going to be crushed anyway, then if only all of it had been crushed, might have been able to temporarily distract George from his pain by making the pathetic suggestion that it was someone else wearing Shannon's clothes. But half of her face had been left untouched. It caused the body so much humiliation, while still proving beyond doubt that the body was Shannon's and no one else's. How inhuman, how brutish. And there, trying his best to burn the image of the remaining half of Shannon's expression into his eyes as she lay at Hideyoshi's feet, was Kannon. Kannon was not crying. Tears had risen to his eyes, but they did not drip down. That didn't mean he wasn't feeling as much sadness as everyone else. Losing Shannon, who had lived with him in the same orphanage, whom he had loved as a sister, must have been just the same as losing a blood relative.
ジョージ、シャノンちゃんはきっとありがとう言ってるぞ。お前に恥ずかしいところを見られとうなかったんや。きっとお前が耐えてくれたこと感謝しとるで。
分かってる。分かってるよ、父さん。分かってるよ。
George leaned against the outside wall of the storehouse, crouching down limply.
父さん、頼みがあるんだ。
なんや。
僕の代わりに見てほしいんだ。シャノンは指に指輪をつけてるかな。
指輪？ちょいと見てみる。
Hideyoshi crouched it down. As he did, Kanon silently pointed to one of Shannon's hands.
ああ、あるで。こりゃダイヤの指輪や。クズダイヤとちゃう。なかなかの値打ちもんや。
それはどっちの手のどの指にあるのかな。
と左手の薬指や。そっか、シャノンちゃん婚約しとったんか。
ジョージ、あなたまさか。
エヴァ、今はそんなん関係ないで。シャノンちゃんは男に将来を約束されとったんや。一生を幸せにしちゃると男に言わせたんや。それが誰かは問題とちゃうで。男にそこまで言わし女の本懐やないか。いつこの指輪をもらったんかは知らん。誰が渡したかも知らん。だがそれでもシャノンちゃんは指輪をもらえたんや。そしてそれを受け入れ左の薬指に通したんや。指輪を送ったきっと喜んだんとちゃうか。
To most of the people there, Hideyoshi was simply disturbed by this extraordinary situation and was blurting out nonsense. However, someone who knew of George and Shannon's true relationship would understand the full meaning of those words.
そっか。ありがとう、父さん。
George stood up. The traces of tears still streaked his face, but his expression had returned to its usual calm one.
行こう。バトラー君、ジェシカちゃん。これ以上、僕たちがここにいると、大人の邪魔になる。
そうだな。
Jessica sniffled once, showing her face to her mother, who had been holding her the whole time to let her know that she was okay now. When she faced George again, she once again had on her usual expression, although she still couldn't smile.
バトラー、しっかり。
Battler kept on crouching in front of his parents' bodies.
すまねえな。がっつり泣いたら落ち着いたぜ。親父の野郎。普段はクソクソ言ってるくせに。ちょっと死んじまったくらいでピーピー泣くんじゃねえぜって笑ってやがら。親が死んだら泣くように遺伝子すり込まれちまってんだからよ。
Battler's face was still bright red from the tears, but he had at least recovered enough to fake a smile, if only a bitter one.
カノン、お前もこれ以上ここにいてはいけません。子供たちを連れてお屋敷に戻っていなさい。
Natsuhi had been standing under the rain this whole time, unable to take a step into the storehouse. Maybe she had her own way of grieving, different from battlers. Realizing that she had to take on a role of responsibility now that her husband was dead, she gave Kanon those orders.
はい、奥様。
Kanon rose silently and turned to face me. His face was pure white, almost as though his own heart had died along with Shannon. And there was no life in his expression. On an ordinary day, if he had been told to guide the children through the beautiful rose garden, Kanon might have led the way. But now there was no distinction between Kanon and the children. They were now just kids of about the same age, suffering the pain of losing those close to them. After making sure that the children were leaving, Natsuhi started giving orders to Genji.
現地、すぐに警察に連絡しなさい。台風が通り過ぎるまでは来られないでしょうが、どうすればいいか指示を与えてくれるはずです。
わかりました。防災用の無線機がありますので、それで連絡します。
When she heard that, Natsuhi remembered. That's right, the phones were out today, weren't they? However, they also had a radio, since they couldn't necessarily rely on phones all the time while living on an isolated island. At any rate, they should start by contacting the police and receiving their instructions. Everything else could wait.
ナチョ先生、もうこの場はどうしようもありませんか。
残念ながら私には何もできませんな。
わかりました。源氏、せめて主人たちの顔を何かで覆ってやることはできませんか。このような姿を晒すことは当人にとっても屈辱的でしょうから。
はい。
Genji picked up several dried-up towels from inside the storehouse, when Ava stopped him with a shrill voice.
ちょっとちょっと、お待ちなさいよ。ここは犯行現場なんでしょ。なら変に手を加えちゃダメよ。私たちは混乱してて現場に土足で踏み入っちゃったけど、それはきっと警察の捜査の邪魔になったわよ。
Natsuhi glared at Ava, offended. Objectively speaking, Ava was right. Even so, she glared at Eva as though accusing her of refusing to do those tragic corpses, which had been humiliated even after death, the simple kindness of covering their faces. However, Ava had spoken both calmly and correctly. This horrible situation definitely wasn't an accident. It was a crime. Someone had killed them. It was a murder case. So they needed to be careful to avoid disturbing the site any further. They had to do what little they could to aid the police, preserving clues that might help catch the detestable culprit.
私もエヴァさんに賛成ですな。警察が来るまでここは手をつけずにしておくべきです。奥様、いかがなさいますか。
そうですね。わかりました。ここを閉ざしなさい。それから念のためここに別の施錠をするように。
別の施錠？
ええ、ここに来た時シャッターの鍵は閉じていました。ということはシャッターの鍵を使い犯人が施錠したということです。
確かに通りや。じゃあここを開けた限り犯人の指紋が残ってるんとちゃうんか。
I wonder if this is just as them like off screen that they filled her in, or if this is actually something important that I should take note of. But right now, Natsuhi said that when we got here, the the storehouse was locked. But when she got there, it wasn't. She tagged along with Genji and the doctor after they'd already opened the storehouse. I'm pretty sure, so I don't know if that's important or if we can just ignore that, but it's something to keep in mind.
警察に証拠として提出する価値はあるでしょうけど、カノン君が普通に持ってここを開けるのに使用しちゃったわ。多分カノン君の指紋も付着しちゃってるわよ。そしてその鍵はさっき源氏さんに手渡され、源氏さんも素手で受け取ってる。大した証拠にはなりそうにないわね。
それは不用心でした。申し訳ございません。
源氏さん、この倉庫の鍵は他にもあるんか？
いいえ、この一つだけです。
ということは犯人はその鍵を使用人室から持ち出し、そして律儀に元の場所に戻したちゅうことになるな。
Hideyoshi's theory sounded plausible, but it was actually very strange if you thought about it. Why would they go to all the trouble of returning a key they stole? No, if you think about it even more deeply, there are some points that are even more bizarre. When a criminal hides a body, they're usually trying to delay the point at which it'll be found so that they can use that time to escape. The six weren't necessarily killed here, but it was reasonable to assume that they were killed somewhere on this island, carried to this storehouse, and hidden to delay the discovery of the crime. And yet the eerie magic circle scribbled on the storehouse shutter had eloquently indicated the location of the hidden corpses. Surely it didn't explicitly mention the corpses, but 6 people had gone missing. In that situation, someone had made such an obvious piece of graffiti and even returned the key to the shutter, almost as though they wanted the corpses here to be discovered.
とにかく一度は犯人が開け閉めをした施錠だけでは信用できません。犯人の手からもこの場所を保護する意味で施錠を新たにしたいと言っているのです。
いい案だと思います。私も賛成です。
Genji fished around inside the storehouse and unsealed a brand new padlock that had been inside a small box.
鍵はどうなさいますか？
私が持ちましょう。責任を持って警察に手渡します。
Natsuhi took the key to the padlock from Genji's hand. After that, they all exited and lowered the shutter. So the corpses were once again sealed behind that shutter, which was still covered with that creepy magic circle. Genji crouched down in front of the shutter to fasten the new padlock. Shutters often have a place in front where you can attach your own lock in addition to the main lock of the shutter. This was one of those types. In the midst of the roar of thunder and the pouring rain, the storehouse stood there ominously, with its closed shutters still covered in blood-like creepy substance. It swallowed up the bodies of the 6. To Natsuhi, putting the new lock on wasn't mainly to preserve the scene for the police. She might have felt like she wanted to shut that mouth for all eternity, to prevent that eerie beast from swallowing up any more victims.
さあ、行きましょう、皆さん。南條先生、ご足労をありがとうございました。源氏は急いで警察に連絡を。
戻りましたらすぐに連絡します。
The adults left the storehouse. The ghastly magic circle, drawn on the shutter, kept the 6 bodies in its throat, looming eerily as the lightning occasionally lit it up. Alright, so I think we're gonna have a short episode this time, but I'm not done quite yet. What I want to do now that we've had a murder is start... Oh, there we go. They're nicely tinted red for us, so we can see who's dead. And is this the state that their faces were? I see. It did say that both Kraus and Shannon had half of their faces still exposed. Alright, so... do we have any tips here? No. Alright. What I want to do is examine everyone's alibis real quick. So Kinzo has no alibi. He was in his study, which he could have come out of at any time and killed everyone. So it's very possible that he's the culprit, although I'd find that unlikely. But it's still something to consider in the back of our head. I don't find it very likely that it was any of these people, because they had to lock the shed afterward. And there could be an accomplice involved, but I would find that very unlikely, so I don't think that it is any of the people who died. And we've got Natsuhi, who right away, she seems pretty suspicious. I don't think she had an alibi. I think that she just went to sleep, and that's her alibi, but the fact that she, number one, she mentioned that the door was locked when she shouldn't have known that. Number two, she insisted that the door be unlocked or relocked with a new lock. That's also a little bit suspect. But at the same time, personally, I just don't find her very suspicious, which is weird. So, I don't know. Jessica has an alibi. She was with Battler the whole time. Nanjo, I don't know what his alibi was. I don't think that he has one, actually. I'm not sure. But we may have to find that out after. Ava, where was she? I wonder if Hideyoshi... These two could probably corroborate each other's alibis. They were probably together at the same time, so... That means these two are probably unlikely suspects. George, we did see, after the scene with Shannon, we did see that he returned to the room with the other cousins, so it's very unlikely that it was him. But there was also the possibility that that it was actually him, and that he didn't return immediately to the other cousins. Maybe he killed them really quickly, and then maybe while everyone else slept, he crept out. I don't know. That's possible. Because I do think he's a pretty suspicious character, but in terms of just this murder, I don't know. It would take a bit of explaining to make him somehow the culprit. Then we've got Battler. Obviously not him. He's the detective, you know. He's the character in all the promotional art shown pointing as if, like, he's gonna figure it all out. So clearly, at some point, he's going to figure this out. Like, that's gonna be what he does. Or at least I think that's gonna be what he does, but eventually, his element is going to be solving mysteries, I assume. That's gonna be what he does. Obviously, it wasn't Maria. Like, unless this is just a really, really dumb story, I just don't think it was Maria. Unless we go with the earlier theory that Beatrice was possessing her. That's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. Genji. I believe that he has an alibi. Because he was in the servant quarters in the guest house. And I believe that Kanon was on patrol in the guest house. So Kanon probably would have noticed if Genji tried to leave. That's what I think, anyway. But on the other hand, Canon would not have noticed. Or I mean, Canon could have left the guest house without being noticed. So he's pretty suspicious right now. Plus, there was that whole thing at the beginning when he was first introduced, where it kind of like foreshadowed that he might do something. And that's definitely a possibility. Of course, he was distraught at Shannon's death, but that could be like distraught in a different sense. Like he regrets having killed her. I don't know. It's possible. Goda was pretty suspicious, but then he died, so I don't think it's actually him. And then we've got Kumasawa. I think it's actually very possible that it is her, but it's not very likely. It's something to consider. So right now, the main suspects are Canon, Natsuhi, and Kinzo, and maybe Nanjo. I think those are the main suspects, though. But that may potentially change after we learn a bit more. So these descriptions have updated, so let's read those. Ushidomiya Kraus, his corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems that the side of his head was smashed after his death. This is the beginning of everything. That one hasn't changed. That one hasn't changed. That one also hasn't changed. Alright. Rudolph. His corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. His face seems to have been smashed after death. He has a right to lament his ill fortune. Kirie. Her corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. Seems to have been smashed after death. She was chosen by the demon's roulette. That's all there is to it. Interesting. So, could this have something to do with what Kinzo was saying about the whole demon's roulette and the whole prophecy? I don't know. Not prophecy, but the legend of the gold. I don't know. I'm really bummed that we lost both Kirie and Rosa, who were kind of my favorite characters so far. But Natsuhi is actually growing on me, so I hope we don't lose her next. I hope she's not the culprit. But even if she is, I don't think she would die. I think she would be sent to the police or whatever. So, next we have Rosa. Face was smashed after death. I'll get to see her again, so I don't feel lonely. What is that? That sounds like it's something Mario would say. Or is this in Battler's? I don't know. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. I'm not sure if it's, I don't know what to think about these character tips right now. Then we've got Shannon. The side of her head was smashed after her death. Don't worry, everyone will be revived in the Golden Land. And then Goda, smashed after death. Apparently he was originally supposed to be on duty in the guest house. That's true. And then they switched and he was on duty in the main mansion. About the whole revival thing, I do wonder if maybe everyone will be revived. If this is that kind of story, I don't know. But there's a lot to think about, and we can start thinking for real about who did this next time. But for now, we're actually going to call it off. We're going to call this an episode. Let me just real quick read the portrait epitaph. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. So what is the key? What chose those? Somebody offered the 6 people and they were chosen. This is peculiar, because these are the 6 sacrifices, I assume. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. who are the two who are close? Would that be Ava and Hideyoshi? Because it's clearly not Shannon and... It's clearly not, Shannon and, George. So it could also be maybe, like, Adler and Maria. I don't think they were that close, though. But, like, there was the whole bit about how he gets along with her. And there could be Natsuhi and Jessica. That's possible. Oh, I see. That could mean that Jessica's the next victim, if we go by that. Then we've got... Those who remain shall praise my noble name. I assume that means Kenzo's noble name. And then gouge the head and kill. That would be Kenzo, probably. I assume we mean the head. That would mean kill Kenzo. I don't know. This is all... I'm not sure what to think right now. Then we've got the witch's letter, which I don't think there's anything here that matters. Well, that's everyone, and that's all the characters, and that's my thoughts, I guess. Initially I was gonna suspect Shannon until we found her dead, but I mean, I actually wasn't gonna suspect her, but I was gonna think that the game was gonna make us want to suspect her, but no, that's all we've got, so, yeah, that seems to be it for now. So let's save. And next time we can start trying to solve this mystery. See where that takes us. So until then, I will see you guys next time. So take care, and I'll be back then.